On the evening of December 24, Olivia's phone buzzed with a text from her mother. "Big snowstorm coming, everyone's staying home, Christmas dinner is cancelled, stay safe honey." She stared at the screen, feeling a twinge of sadness. Olivia, 30, was a financial professional living in Seattle. She was used to feeling different in her family. Quiet, hard-working, and not part of their noisy gatherings. Her younger sister Jessica, 27, was always the center of attention, the perfect daughter in her parents' eyes. Olivia wasn't surprised that she was the only one missing this year's party, but at least she thought the family wouldn't be together. The next morning, while snuggled up in a warm blanket, drinking hot chocolate and watching a Christmas movie, Olivia accidentally scrolled through Instagram. What she saw made her heart stop. On the screen was a new photo from her cousin Emily, a perfect Christmas at Jessica's. So lucky to be with family. Olivia expanded the photo. Before her was her entire family. Her father, mother, aunts, uncles, cousins, even her grandmother, all gathered around the table, laughing and wearing Christmas sweaters. It was clearly a planned dinner, one she had been completely excluded from. She looked out the window. The sky was blue, no sign of a blizzard. No storm at all. Olivia's heart pounded as she scrolled through more photos. There was her father carving the turkey, her mother arranging the familiar Christmas cookie platter, her grandchildren eagerly opening presents. She put the phone down, a chill creeping up her spine. It wasn't the first time. She began to remember all the times her family had told her the event was cancelled, that no one would be there, only to later stumble upon pictures of them having a great time without her. How many times had they lied to her so blatantly? The next morning, Olivia's phone rang. It was her mother. She picked it up, keeping her voice calm. "Hi honey, how was Christmas? We missed you." The fakeness in her mother's voice made Olivia tighten her grip on the phone. "Really?" she asked, keeping her voice even. "Because from what I saw on Instagram, it looks like everyone had a great Christmas without me." The silence on the other end of the line was so long that Olivia could almost hear her mother's ragged breathing. Finally, her mother spoke, her voice faltering. "Well, Jessica organized it at the last minute. You know, you're usually uncomfortable with gatherings. We just thought—" "Thought what?" Olivia interrupted. "That it would be better to lie to you, make you think everyone was home, when in fact everyone was having a wonderful Christmas without you?" Her mother sighed heavily. "You're overreacting, Olivia. We just wanted to avoid awkwardness. You're always quiet, not getting along with everyone. Jessica just wanted to have a perfect night, so—" Everything suddenly became clearer. Olivia remembered all the times she had tried to help her parents, from working overtime to support the family finances, to putting her dreams on hold to pursue what they considered a stable career. Meanwhile, Jessica, the golden daughter, dropped out of school to pursue her own passion, but was still praised by her parents. "How many times?" Olivia asked, her voice low but powerful. "How many times have you lied to me about family gatherings?" Her mother's silence was the clearest answer. "Olivia, you're so sensitive," her mother said, her voice starting to turn sour. "This is why you always feel left out, you don't try to fit in. While Jessica does everything to keep things together, you just complain." Olivia laughed, but it wasn't a happy laugh. "Does that mean working hard to support the family, helping out when Dad had surgery and always trying to be a good daughter, isn't enough?" Her mother lowered her voice, becoming colder. "If you keep this up, maybe we should keep our distance for a while. When you're ready to act more rationally, call me." The phone disconnected. Olivia sat still, staring at the blank screen, feeling as if the world around her had changed. She was no longer a problem. She had never been a problem. She had tried her best to be accepted, but her family had never truly valued her. For the first time in her life, Olivia saw the truth, and this time, she had no intention of pretending to believe the lies. Olivia put the phone down, but her heart was still pounding. Bitterness spread through her body, not only at the blatant deception, but also at her mother's casualness in twisting the truth. They had no regrets, no guilt. To them, Olivia was simply a supporting character in Jessica's perfect family story. Old memories flooded back. She remembered the time her father had been hospitalized for surgery 3 years ago. She had taken 3 weeks off to care for him, making sure he took his medication on time, taking him to follow-up appointments, cooking nutritious meals even though she was exhausted from work. What about Jessica? She had stopped by once, taken a few photos with her father and quickly left, saying she had an important meditation trip. Yet, in her parents' story, Jessica was the filial daughter who cared about her family, while Olivia was a shadow. She also remembered past Thanksgivings, when she had spent hours in the kitchen helping her mother prepare dinner, only to hear her mother tell relatives that Jessica had done everything. When she offered to help organize Christmas this year, Jessica had brushed her off, saying she wanted everything to be perfect. And sure enough, Christmas dinner this year was perfect, but without Olivia. But all that was nothing compared to the truth that was about to come out. Olivia was still angry, so she decided to reach out to Rachel, a longtime family friend who had run her parents' finances. Rachel had always been a kind and straightforward person, and Olivia sensed her concern when she called shortly after the Christmas incident broke on social media. When Olivia arrived at the small downtown cafe, Rachel was waiting with a thick file on her desk. She gave Olivia an apologetic look, then pushed the file toward her. "You need to know the truth. I've kept this secret for too long, but I can't keep quiet any longer." Olivia's hands shook as she flipped through the pages. The numbers and bank statements made her dizzy. An inheritance from her grandfather that she had never known about. Nearly $250,000 had been left to her to help her build a future. But Olivia had never seen a penny of it. "My parents were the ones in charge of this money," Rachel said quietly. "They were supposed to give it to me when I turned 25, but they transferred it all to Jessica's account saying it was an investment for her future." Olivia felt dizzy. "Oh, that means all those years you struggled to pay for your own tuition, all those student loans you were still paying off, when they had the money for you?" Rachel nodded, her face showing regret. "That's not all. Remember when you were 18, your parents asked you to sign a medical power of attorney? It was essentially a power of attorney, giving them full control over your assets. They used that power to sell your real estate and transfer the money to Jessica's account." Everything seemed to be falling apart before Olivia's eyes. All these years, she had worked tirelessly, trying to support her family financially, sacrificing her own dreams to pursue a stable career like her parents wanted. Meanwhile, Jessica had been living lavishly on the money that should have been hers. Foreign trips, expensive yoga classes, high-end clothing stores. All funded by Olivia's money, without her knowing. She took a deep breath, trying to calm herself. "They took everything from me," she said, her voice soft but sharp. "And they still want to make me the one to blame." Rachel took her hand, her eyes steady. "You can do something about this, Olivia. This isn't just a betrayal. It's a crime." In that moment, Olivia realized she couldn't take it anymore. If they could betray her so blatantly, they wouldn't stop. They had taken advantage of her all her life, and if she didn't stand up now, they would continue to manipulate and control her forever. She picked up the phone and called a financial fraud attorney. "I want what's mine," she said. And for the first time in her life, Olivia felt like she was truly taking back control of her life. Olivia spent the next week working non-stop, but this time not for work or family, but for herself. She went through every document Rachel gave her, comparing it to every old bank statement she could find. As a financial expert, Olivia knew how to trace money, and what she found sent a chill down her spine. Over $250,000 of her inheritance had been embezzled by her parents, money that was supposed to give her a solid start in life. They had transferred it all to Jessica's account, using it to fund lavish yoga retreats, international trips, and even a condo that Jessica owned, but never paid for. Worse yet, the sale of the property in her name had been a complete fraud. They had used a power of attorney Olivia had signed when she was 18, under the guise of emergency medical papers, to transfer assets she didn't even know she owned. The more Olivia learned, the angrier she became. She had worked hard, saving every penny to pay off student loans, while they had used her money to pamper Jessica. No apology, no remorse, and when she found out the truth, they had tried to blame her. But this time Olivia didn't stay silent. She arranged to meet her parents and Jessica at her apartment on Saturday morning. In contrast to Olivia's calm demeanor, they walked in with confident expressions, as if she were going to apologize for doubting them. Her mother spoke first. "Olivia, I'm glad you've calmed down. We're a family, and we shouldn't let small misunderstandings get in the way of our relationship. Olivia didn't respond, just pushed 3 stacks of documents toward them. Before we say anything else, you should read this. Her father raised an eyebrow in annoyance, but picked it up anyway. A few seconds later, his face turned pale. Jessica glanced at it, and immediately flings the documents onto the table. "What the hell is this?" Jessica screamed. "It's evidence," Olivia replied curtly. "Every illegal transaction, every stolen money, every illegally sold property is in there." Her mother tried to keep her cool. "Olivia, you misunderstand. Everything I do is to help you. You don't need that money, do you? You have a good job, and Jessica needs a little help to build a future." Olivia laughed coldly. "A little help? You call stealing my entire inheritance help? What about the student loans I have to pay off? What about the nights I have to stay up all night to earn a living? Meanwhile, Jessica is living like a queen on her daughter's money? This isn't help, this is fraud." Jessica was shocked. "I don't know anything about this, they said it was their money." Olivia looked straight at her sister, her eyes cold. "What about the money transferred directly into your account? The investment documents in your name? Didn't you wonder why your parents had all that money ready for you?" Jessica was silent, her face pale. Olivia's father slammed the file down on the table. "What do you want?" Olivia looked straight at him. "I want you to return the entire amount, including interest. I want a written statement admitting everything that happened. If not, I will send this entire file to the court and the police." Her mother gasped. "Olivia, you can't do this. You will destroy our family." Olivia looked straight into her eyes. "No. We destroyed it long ago." She left the apartment, leaving them with the documents that exposed her guilt. Not surprisingly, 2 days later she received an email from her father. Not an apology, not an offer of reconciliation, but a threat. "If you dare to tarnish our family's reputation, we will never forgive you." Olivia just smiled. Did they really think she was afraid of losing something she never had? The next morning she walked into her lawyer's office, laid all the documents on the table, and said one sentence. "Here we go." That day the formal complaint was filed in court, along with a report of financial fraud sent to the police. Less than a week later, an investigation order was issued. Everything happened faster than Olivia could have imagined. Her parents were summoned for questioning, their bank accounts were frozen for investigation, the properties they had illegally sold were also reviewed. Jessica, who had prided herself on her perfect social media image, suddenly went completely silent. She stopped posting pictures of lavish vacations or positive life philosophies. As news of the lawsuit spread through the family, relatives who had stood by her parents began to distance themselves. Soon, those who had once hailed Jessica as the perfect child began to turn against her. Olivia's parents, once proud of being respectable, were now being talked about as frauds. And Olivia? She didn't feel joy or elation, there was only relief. She was no longer trapped by her family's manipulations. She was no longer the insignificant, exploited daughter whose feelings no one cared about. For the first time in her life, Olivia felt truly free. The news spread faster than Olivia had anticipated. Just 3 days after she filed the lawsuit, the police opened a formal investigation into her parents' embezzlement and financial fraud. The evidence she provided, including bank statements, legal documents about inheritance rights, and Rachel's testimony, was too strong to ignore. That morning, as Olivia was working in her office, her phone rang. It was a text from Rachel. Ava looked arrested. She took a deep breath, trying to stay calm, but her heart was pounding. This was no longer a personal battle. It was justice. The police had arrived at her parents' home early that morning, armed with a search warrant. They seized computers, financial records, and documents related to the scam. Her mother cried out, trying to convince them that it was a family misunderstanding. Her father stubbornly maintained his arrogant attitude, claiming that they had the right to do this because she was their daughter. But the law didn't care about such excuses. Soon, the police arrived at her father's office and arrested him on the spot. His once respectful colleagues backed away, looking at him with judgment as he was led away in handcuffs. News of the arrest spread quickly. The local newspapers carried headlines. Carters arrested for embezzling daughter's money. Longtime family friends began to distance themselves. People who had once praised her parents as a model family began to gossip. With her parents arrested, Jessica was not spared. When the police investigated, they discovered that many of her assets, apartment, car, bank account, had been purchased with money from Olivia's inheritance. The court ordered the seizure of all of Jessica's assets to repay the stolen money. She panicked, begging Olivia for help. "You can't do this to me, you know it's not my fault. I don't know where the money came from." Olivia looked straight at her sister, her voice cold. "Ignorance doesn't mean innocence. You lived lavishly on money that was rightfully mine. When I was struggling to survive, did you ever care?" Jessica cried, but Olivia no longer cared. The pity was gone. A few weeks later, Jessica lost her apartment, her car, everything she had proudly shown off on social media. She was forced to leave the city, moving in with an old friend. For Olivia, it wasn't revenge. It was justice. The case was quickly settled. Olivia's parents were convicted of financial fraud and abuse of custody. They were sentenced to 4 years in prison and ordered to repay her in full. All their assets were sold to pay off their debts, including the house they had once been proud of. Jessica was bankrupt and forced to work a regular office job instead of enjoying the lavish lifestyle she had enjoyed. Her grandmother, and the relatives who had protected her parents, were now silent. No one wanted anything to do with them anymore. A year later, Olivia stood on the balcony of her new apartment in Denver, sipping coffee, watching the snow fall gently. All that she had lost, her family, her trust, the years of being taken advantage of, was no longer a wound, but a lesson. Rachel visited her last week, bringing a gift, an old photo album that belonged to her grandfather. In it was a picture of the two of them fishing on the shore of a lake, his smile gentle. "My grandfather used to say I was the strongest person in the family," Rachel said. "He always believed that no matter how they treated you, you would overcome it all." Olivia smiled, gently touching the photo. Her parents, Jessica, their family may have taken away her money, her opportunities, and her youth. But in the end they couldn't take away the most important thing, her freedom, and her self-respect. She had won, not because she had destroyed them, but because she had escaped them forever. These stories illustrate an important truth. We can't choose the family we're born into, but we can choose how we're treated. When faced with injustice, manipulation, or deception, don't stay silent. Listen to your intuition, seek the truth, and fight for your rights. Don't let family ties become an excuse for someone to take advantage of or control you. If you've been betrayed, be strong and cut off toxic relationships. Justice and truth may take time to come, but if you stand firm, you'll regain your freedom and respect. Most importantly, respect for yourself. What do you think of these stories? If you've been through a similar situation or have your own perspective, share it in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to continue reading real-life stories about family, justice, and self-respect.